Vandeyam Shiguro Shiyata Padakamalam Shigurun Vaishnavam Sya Shirupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabarutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishikam Vitam Sya Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyanajana Shalakaya Chakshurum Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhishtam Supurakam Gurganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipunam Shirupa Patanugam Govindabhidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Vijapradam Devam Divyatanum Suchandabaranam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadekavaranam Vairagya Vidyambunim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Madekasharanam Nyashishvara Shridaram Vanchakopatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Nama. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami with translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is Adi-lila chapter 5, the glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram. So I'll start with verse number 21. Prema netre dekitara swarupa prakash gopa gopi sangajaha krishnera bilas. But with the eyes of love of Godhead, one can see its real identity as the place where Lord Krishna performs his pastimes with the cowherd boys and cowherd girls. So I believe what was being described is that there's spiritual planet which has the divisions of, what is it? Dwarka, Mathura, and Gokula, and that is in the highest realm of the spiritual planet called Krishna Loka or Gokula. But in this earth, Goloka descends as Gokula, and Gokula is in what we say Vrindavan, but people don't. You have to have special eyes to be able to see that spiritual abode. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Rida Yeshu Valokayanti. You have to be able to have eyes which are smeared with the ointment of Krishna Prema in order to be able to see that abode in this earth of Gokula is a spiritual abode, because otherwise if you go there you don't have that spiritual vision. You almost get run over by motorcycles, or you'll see people throwing things in the street. You'll just see it as an ordinary place. But if you have some actual spiritual vision, then perhaps the veil of illusion can be taken away from your eyes and you can see really what's going on in that place, like Vrindavan. So apparently Vrindavan's in UP and everything, but it's not really a material tract of land. So then, but with the eyes of love of Godhead, one can see its real identity as the place where Lord Krishna performs his pastimes with the cowherd boys and cowherd girls. Chintamani prakara sadmasu kalpa vriksha lakshavriteshu surabira bipalayantam lakshmi sahasra shata sambrahma sevyamanam govindamadi parusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending cows, yielding all desires in abodes built with spiritual gems and surrounded by millions of purpose trees. Purpose trees means kalpavriksha, desire trees. So he is always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune, or hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis. So all the female companions of the Lord, they all are expansions from the gopis. First comes the gopis, then comes the queens of Dwarka, and then comes the Lakshmi. And all of them are expansions of that Shakti potency. So anyway, this prayer is about that spiritual abode. And then there's an explanation. It goes on for a lot of people. Okay. Mathura Dharakaya Nijarupa Prakashya Nanarupe Bilashaye Chaturbhyuha Hoya. Lord Krishna manifests his own form in Mathura and Dwarka. He enjoys pastimes in various ways by expanding into quadruple forms. So what's being described is the Dandavas Maharaj. Jai Srila Bhakti Bhima Avadut Maharaj ki jai. So, this chapter is about the glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram. So it's describing how Krishna expands. His first expansion is Balaram, and then from Balaram comes Sankarshan, and from Sankarshan comes the Chaturvyuha, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva. And then there's another expansion, Chaturvyuha, second. Then there's all the Vishnu forms in the spiritual sky. Then there's the Purusha avatars, Mahavishnu, which is Karanabdhishayi Vishnu, then Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. They're all expansions from Krishna, but ultimately they're expansions from Lord Nityananda, because Lord Nityananda is non-different from Balaram. So, Vasudeva Sankarshan Pradyumna Aniruddha Sarva Chaturvyuhamshi Turiya Vishuddha. Vasudeva Sankarshan Pradyumna and Aniruddha are the primary quadruple forms from whom all other quadruple forms are manifested. They are all purely transcendental. 18 Loke Krishna Kevala Lila Moy Nijagana Loya Kele Anandita Samod. Only in these three places, Dwarka, Mathura, and Gokula, does the all-sporting Lord Krishna perform his endless pastimes with his personal associates. Paravyama Madhye Kori Swarupa Prakash Narayana Rupe Koran Bibida Bilas. In the Vaikuntha planets of the spiritual sky, the Lord manifests his identity as Narayan and performed pastimes in various ways. Now, see, we can hear about all these expansions of the Lord, and that's ultimately, this chapter is describing these as expansions of Lord Nityananda Ram. But the one thing we should keep in mind is there is a difference between the Vaikuntha planets and the spiritual planet which Krishna resides in. Those spiritual Vaikuntha planets, their sense is one of Aishvarya Gyan. Aishvarya Gyan means awe, reverence, opulence, majesty. And that conception is also known in the West. People tend to think of God as some reverential form. And in the West, they'll stylize that form of God to the point that they think God is an old, very wise old man with a long beard. And and then that confuses people. That really confuses people, because then they, like I just read the other day, some catastrophe happened. Like maybe this catastrophe happens where a lot of people die, and they say, well, if God is all good and all knowing, then why does he allow these catastrophes to happen? But if somebody asked me, if God is all good and all knowing, why does he let these catastrophes happen? I would say, he doesn't let these catastrophes happen. You do. You're the one who lets these things happen. Well, I'm talking to a hypothetical person. Why do you give the blame to me? Because you're just trying to use God as a scapegoat. It's your own lack of own lack of consciousness, and you do something wrong, creates an abominable situation, and then oh, God did that. But if you do something right and everything goes very well, you'll take credit for that. Yeah. So, all right. 18 Loke Krishna Kevala Lila Moy Nija Gana Loya Kele Ananta Samoy. Only in these three places, Dwarka, Mathura, and Gokula, does all-pervading, all-sporting Lord Krishna perform his endless pastimes with his personal associates. So the sense of Vaikuntha is Aishvarya Gyan, awe, reverence, majesty, much respect. And that's what Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, as I've repeated sometimes. Bhakti Vinod Thakur says the religion of the masses is fear of God, and the religion of the saints is love of God. So we were in touch with some saints like, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj, and what they are communicating is love of God. They're not communicating fear of God. But normally people, they have a very reverential conception of God. So, okay, that fits in very good with Aishvarya Gyan, knowledge, awe, reverence, which is the sense of Vaikuntha. But if you want to approach Krishna, then you have to have the association, or you have to put yourself under the guidance of the guru who's going to be able to show you by his own example how to serve the Lord with a spontaneous or with a loving attitude. And Govinda Maharaj used to say that. He'd say, we are understanding each other by heart-to-heart transmission. We're not understanding each other through, reverence, or a sense of obligation. We're trying to do this under the sense of the guidance of a devotee has a deep relationship with the Lord. Anyway, Paravyoma Madhe Kore Swarupa Prakash Narayana Rupe Korana Bibidya Vilas. In the Vaikuntha planets of the spiritual sky, the Lord manifests his identity as Narayan and performs pastimes in various ways. Swarup Vigraha Krishna Kevala Dvibhuj Narayana Rupe Se Tanu Chaturbhuj Shanka Chakra Garapadma Mahaishvari Mahasas Narayan, four-handed form. So normally people say, oh, I can relate with that four-handed form. That must be God. But then they're thinking, two-handed form, wait a minute, that's too much like me, so that can't be God. But actually, the sense of worshiping Narayan has four hands. That's being done under what's called adhoksaja. You're thinking that spirit is inconceivable and different. But as we said yesterday, the sense of worship of Krishna, the sense of the worship of Krishna is that it's paraprakriti. There's aparaprakriti, which is material, and paraprakriti. Wait, I'm getting the wrong terms. No, we're thinking that adhoksaja, everything is very different, so that must be spiritual, and the sense that what's the terminology that prakrita material. Aprakrita is, it appears to be just like this world. Krishna has two hands. We have two hands. So, but Krishna is not a human being. Avajanante mamudha manushim tanamashritam. Parambhava majananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. People who are Avajananti mamudha. People who are mudhas. How would you define mudhas? Burros, donkeys, people who are mudhas. Mundane workers. They think Krishna must be an expansion of Narayan, because Narayan has 4 hands, so he must be spiritual, because we don't see anybody with 4 hands normally. But two-handed, that's a prakrita. It looks like us, so we're thinking, oh, Krishna must be like us. Yeah, but he's not. Anyway, Jajapi kevalatara krida matra dharma tatapi jivere kripai kori ek karma. Although his pastimes are only his characteristic functions, by his causeless mercy he performs one activity for the fallen souls. Salokya samipya sharsti sarupya prakar charimukti diyakore jivara dishtar. He delivers the fallen living entities by offering them the 4 kinds of liberation: Salokya, Samipya, Sharsti, and Sarupya. So, here. Salokya. Just says here, when I look up what's the meaning of Salokya, it says the liberation called Salokya. Okay. Salokya means same loka, it's on the same planet as the Lord. Then Samipya. Samipya means the same form as the Lord, I guess. Sharsti will be the same opulence as the Lord, and Sarupya the same form as the Lord. Okay, more or less. Okay, we'll find that out later on. He delivers the fallen living entities by offering the 4 kinds of liberation: Salokya, Samipya, Sharsti, and Sarup. There are 2 kinds of liberated souls: those who are liberated by the favor of the Lord, and those who are liberated by their own effort. One who gets liberation by his own effort is called an impersonalist, and he emerges into the glaring effulgence of the Lord, the Brahmajyoti. But devotees of the Lord who qualify themselves for liberation by devotional service are offered 4 kinds of liberation, namely Salokya, status equal to that of the Lord, living on the same planet. Okay. Samipya, constant association with the Lord. Sharsti, opulence equal to that of the Lord. And Sarupya, features like that of the Lord. Brahmasayuja muktir tahana higati vaikunta bahire hoi tasavarastiti. But, the devotees actually, they even if they're offered these 4 kinds of liberation, they may politely refuse. Okay. Those who attain Brahma Sayuja liberation cannot gain entrance into Vaikuntha. Their residence is outside the Vaikuntha planets, so they merge into the Brahma Jyoti. Vaikuntha Bahire Jyotirmoy Mandal Krishnara Angara Prabha Parama Ujjwal. Outside the Vaikuntha planets is the atmosphere of the glowing effulgence, which consists of the supremely bright rays of the body of Lord Krishna. So the supremely bright rays of the body of Lord Krishna, that's the Brahma Jyoti. And this material world is the not so bright rays of the material world. They're not very bright. Okay.
You're killing us, smart.
They're not smart. Siddhaloka Nahmatara Prakritira Par Chit Swarupa Taha Nahi Chit Shakti Vikar. That region is called Siddhaloka. That's the Brahmajyoti region. And it is beyond the material nature. Its essence is spiritual, but it does not have spiritual varieties. Surya Mandala Jaina Bahire Nirvishesh Bitare Suryara Rata Adis Savisesh. It is like the homogeneous effulgence around the sun, but inside the sun are the chariots, horses, and other opulences of the sun god. So the Brahmajyoti is being compared to the sunlight. That the sun, when you look at, you can't look at the sun, all you see is effulgence. So the Brahmajyoti, you're just seeing the outer effulgence that surrounds the spiritual planets, but you don't have the vision to. Well, the impersonalists never get beyond that, so they don't know that within the actual spiritual planets there's variety form, there's the Lord and His devotees, there's activities. Kama, Dvesha, Maya, Sneha, Yata, Bhaktyeshvare, Mana, Avesha, Tad, Agam Hitva, Mahavas, Tad, Gatim Gataha. As through devotion to the Lord one can attain His abode, many have attained that goal by abandoning their sinful activities and absorbing their minds in the Lord through lust, envy, fear, or affection. So, and how do they gain that association? Through lust, anger, because then they can become enemies of the Lord, and maybe they'll get killed by the Lord, and then they'll get some benefit. Okay. I'm not going into these details. Yad arinam priyanam cha prapyam ekam evoditam tad brahma krishnayor aikyad kiranar ko pamajushal. Where it has been stated, the Lord's enemies and devotees attain the same destination. This refers to the ultimate oneness of Brahman and Lord Krishna. This may be understood by the analogy of the sun and the sunshine, in which Brahman is like the sunshine and Krishna himself is like the sun. So those who have an irregular relationship with the Lord, they can become successful impersonalists, and they can merge with the Brahmajyoti and lose all. They can gain that sense of oneness, and then they lose out on the possibility of ever having the Lord's association or developing devotion for the Lord. So then it says, but you said that the destiny, that it says the Lord's devotees and enemies attain the same destination. Yeah, in the general sense. Like you can get a passport which will allow you to travel, but if you want to go to a particular place, maybe you need a visa for there. So the impersonalists, they can get a passport and but they don't actually attain the association of the Lord. I'm not trying to be political or anything. Yes, I am. Taichi Paravyome Nana Chit Shakti Vilas Nirvishesh Jyotir Bimba Bahire Prakash. Thus, in the spiritual sky, there are varieties of pastimes within the spiritual energy. Outside the Vaikuntha planets appears the impersonal reflection of light. And there are no pastimes, and there's no variety there. So if you want that dull impersonal liberation, very dull. Nirvisesh Brahma Se Kevala Jyotirmoy Sayujar Adhikarita Taha Pailoi. The impersonal Brahman effulgence consists only of the effulgent rays of the Lord. Those fit for Sayuja liberation merge into that effulgence. Siddhalokas tu tamasa para pare chatra vasantihi siddha brahma sukhe magna daityascha harina hataha. Beyond the region of ignorance, the material cosmic manifestation, lies the realm of Siddhaloka. The Siddhas reside there, absorbed in the bliss of Brahman. Demons killed by the Lord also attain that realm. So, does that mean that impersonalists are also demons? No, they're like demons.
Demons like that too.
Se paravyome narayaner charipashe daraka chatur vyuher dvitiya prakashe. In that spiritual sky, and the four sides of Narayan are the second expansions of the quadruple expansions of Dwarka. So Now we're in the Govinda Mela. I'm reading here progressively from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're reading about the glories of Lord Balaram. So previously we heard about the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then we'll hear about, and basically this, as Srila Sridhar said, he said, for instance, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the actual pastimes, the actual Lila, the Lord's appearance, that doesn't happen till the 13th chapter of Adi-lila, with the exception of the 7th chapter, which describes the describes the Panchatattva, and then all of a sudden you're absorbed in some Lila where the Lord is converting Prakashananda Saraswati in Varanasi. But really the Leela starts in the 13th chapter of the Adi-lila. So up until that, we're hearing all these Sanskrit verses and descriptions of the different aspects of each personality. And that, Srila Sridhar said, that's called ontology. Ontology is very useful because you have to know somebody, then you can hear about their activities. But if you don't know what is the nature of that person, the activities will be very confusing for you. Like, why is Lord Nityananda Prabhu, why is he called Avadut? Why is he called Avadut? Because that is the nature of Balaram. Nityananda is an expansion of Balaram, and Balaram himself is an Avadut. Krishna sided with the Pandavas, but Balaram, his student, was Duryodhana, and he taught him mace fighting. But Balaram actually had a little sympathy with the Kurus, but they stepped a little out. Even they could irritate him, because when they captured, what is it? Is it Aniruddha? When they captured in Shamba. Okay. Anyway, when he went to visit them in Hastinapur, then they said, "Oh, we've been very lenient with you because we've allowed you and Krishna to use some of the royal paraphernalia, although you're actually not born in royal family. You show the activities of Vaishyas as cowherd boys, so we may have to take away those privileges from you." And then Balaram gets very angry. So to show them that he's angry, he starts pulling their whole city into the Ganga. He was a little upset. So then they quickly came to their senses, and they're offering prayers to Balaram. But Balaram, he is not always, Then with Ramaharshana Sutta, then with Ramaharshana, he goes to where is it? Naimisharanya, and there the priest doesn't show proper respect to him, so he takes a blade of grass and he kills the priest. And then everyone is saying, "Oh, you've really fouled up you've really affected our whole yajna, so you have to do some atonement for that." What's the atonement that you want? We want you to kill the Balvala demon who's disturbing us. Okay, Balaram quickly takes care of him. Kills. So, but Balaram is an Avadut. Avaduts don't behave properly. So, but you have to know that. You have to know that who he is. If you can understand that he is Balaram, that's why he behaves like that. Just like in the pastimes of the Srimad Bhagavatam, who is it that Bharat Maharaj, India is named after Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj, he gave up his family and he went to the forest, and he's observing vows of an ascetic in the forest. But then one time he sees a tiger is chasing after a deer, and the deer is running from the tiger, and then the deer jumps through jumps in the river and crosses the river, but the deer, while the deer is pregnant and the baby deer is born in the water, comes out, and then Bharat Maharaj gets that deer and saves that baby deer, and then he's taking care of that deer. He had given up his whole family and become renounced, and now he develops some attachment for a deer. And then one day the deer is out late, and like parents get all upset when their son or daughter doesn't come home one time. Then he went out looking for that baby deer, and while he was looking for the deer, he fell and died. So then his next birth, he took birth as what? A deer. And then after that, he was kind of done with the whole business of family attachment. So what did he do? He appeared as Jad Bharat. Now Jad Bharat was an avadut. He was not involved with social customs, and so he was a self-realized soul. And so one time the king Rahugana is going through the forest, and all of a sudden one of his palanquin carriers develops a stomach ache or something. So they have to find another palanquin. And they say, oh, there's that young man, that Jad Bharat. He looks like he can carry. He looks strong. Bring him here. He'll carry the king's palanquin. So then he's carrying the king's palanquin. But Jad Bharat is a self-realized soul. He sees many ants on the path. So he's jumping from one side to the other to avoid stepping on the ants. And when he's doing that, Maharaj Rahugana, he gets very upset. He says, you fool, put me down. Then he puts him down. He says, you're a fool. You don't know what you're doing. And then Jad Bharat says, I'm neither a fool nor are you a king. And he starts instructing him spiritually. And all of a sudden, Rahugana understands that he's being instructed by a great soul. So that's what it means to, avaduts are not. That's the nature. So why am I saying this? I don't know. I have no idea. But
because you're afraid of Avadut Maharaj.
Yeah, I am afraid of Avadut Maharaj. Afraid of Avadut Maharaj. No, I'm also instructing something, but I forget what it is. So anyway, we'll stop here. Are there any questions?
What's the difference between Balaram and Nityananda Prabhu?
Nityananda is stronger.
In which regard?
Well, Mother Sachi one day saw that Krishna and Balaram were on a swing or on a throne, and then Nityananda started shouting at Balaram, get down from the throne. Now is not the time for you. Now is Kali Yuga. Now is the time for my Lord Gauranga. So he and Balaram fought, and Nityananda is stronger, and he defeated Balaram. Mother Sachi saw this in a dream, and then she could understand something about who Nityananda Prabhu is. So, what?
What's the commentary of Saraswati Thakur?
What's the commentary about that? You tell us.
Nityananda is expansion of the mercy. Balaram is not so merciful. He's kicking ass. Dealing with the Mushala, Nityananda Prabhu is submissive, humble, pray, Bhaja Gaurangi, Kaha Gaurangi, Lahu Gaurangi Nam, and inquire everybody chant Hare Krishna. So that's in Kali Yuga, Balaram is not showing so much mercy. That's what Saraswati Thakur explains. That Nityananda Prabhu is the most merciful Atipada.
Yeah.
It's an expansion of mercy and sweetness, which is making him overcome even Balaram.
Yeah, Nityananda is begging even at the feet of enemies to please accept the mercy of Lord Gauranga. So in that sense. Okay, now I'm going to sing. It's getting late, I'm going to sing Hari Haraya now. Then everyone will take some prasadam. And then after prasadam, I think around 11 o'clock or so, Arun Krishna will begin. He'll begin the program, and along with Madhamar, they'll do the kirtan, and then because on Sunday, strangely enough, we have our Sunday program, so we'll have that. All right, and anyone, as far as other activities, like some persons they want to do, receive Harinam, they can do so. We'll make arrangements for that. But all these things will be going on conjunctly because some devotees are leaving tomorrow. It's Monday. Some people have to actually work.
Fruitful workers.
What?
Fruitful workers.
Yeah. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Charavaya Nama Jaravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Srimadasudan Giridhari Gopinatha Maranamo Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Adi-lila Garadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vina Sai Rupa Sanatha Madhya Raguna Jiva Gopala Bhaja Dasa Raguna Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Shri Govinda Mela Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Bhimo Abhadut Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Srila Bhakti Tilak Neri Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtatara Sadasri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtatara Sadasri Srimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premsigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Vishvaparenya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Kushamashra Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Jai Om Vishnu Pad Srila Bhakti Pavan Ganadhara Maharaj Ki Jai.